Guess what?
What?
I picked a winner this week.
Yeah,
Where'd Byron finish?
not up front.
You know I gotta say it.
Yeah.
Yahoo!
Following is a production of the Garage Area.
All right, welcome into the garage area. This is our Michigan recap show where we saw Denny Hamlin win. We saw me get the pick right on the nose, as my pick of Denny Hamlin won the race today, and Ryan's pick of William Byron did not. Byron finished 28th as he ended up running out of fuel there in the final stage. What'd you think of Michigan? Did you think that it was going to come down to a fuel mileage race?
Even though the track normally does, I didn't really see it because I assumed we had some long green flag runs. I figured they'd probably just cut the stage in half at some point, but the caution fell just at the right time. So,
yeah, sometimes that's just how it turns out. Is Michigan is the fuel mileage style race, and I would never rule it out, but I feel like we've seen less fuel mileage races. Typical fuel mileage races, I should say, like your Poconos, your Michigans. Sometimes the road course races end up being fuel mileage races historically, and now while they're all always a factor, it's not. It doesn't come down to seeing who could stretch it the longest like it used to. But Michigan kind of had a little old school throwback there, and he gave us a fuel mileage race and gave me a Denny Hamlin winner. What's that do for us in the point standings now that I've won?
you're down within one race anyways.
That's awesome.
58 points. So
This is a comeback of the year so far. Doing better than anybody. I'm doing better in the points than Alex Bowman is doing week in and week out.
okay.
Okay. What did you think of the race itself as far as a rating goes? First of all, what were you expecting? What actually took place on the racetrack that either confirmed or opposed your opinion of what you expected?
I was expecting a lot of dirty air issues, which we did see.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, the race itself was a lot better than I thought it would be. It almost seemed like at this point, if you were passing for the lead, it was better to be out front to try and make a pass than it was back in the pack, where normally I could see it the other way around, because I don't think the air blocking was quite as useful this weekend, because you did see passes for the lead. But even some in the back of the pack, some of the momentum stuff, it made it look more exciting than it probably really was. But overall, I thought it was a pretty decent race. I give it, I don't know, I'll go 7.5.
Wow, that's higher than I thought you would put it. That's higher than I'm going to put it. I still saw a lot of dirty air, and while Denny was trying to run down Byron for the lead, there was a lot of just, all I got to do is cover the entire racetrack and disturb the air from the bottom lane all the way to the wall, and I can keep him from getting a big run on me. And Denny kept mounting the charge. Like, Denny could have passed him 10 laps earlier. It just, he didn't have clean enough air to do it, but he had the speed to do it. And it took that amount of time for Denny to finally wait for Byron to make enough of a mistake to get by him. And that's ultimately what won him the race. He would have won anyways because Byron was going to run out, and he did. But I'd say overall for me, I give it a 6 for that reason. It was a better race than I thought, but I guess the baseline for me is if it's like nothing eventful happens, good or bad, and I still have to deal with dirty air, that automatically makes it a 5. But it was an exciting finish. Like, I was sitting there on the edge of the couch being like, come on, Denny, come on, Denny. Never cheered so hard for Denny Hamlin in my life. And just hoping that he ended up getting up there just so that I could win this week. And I'll tell you what, I know why a lot of people are addicted to sports gambling, because I had no money on this on this race this week, and still rooted really hard for Denny to win.
Yeah, I was same on the other end, hoping Byron would keep his pace. But
that's the worst part about this is I wish that we were watching that together just for that purpose, to yell at each other like, come on, Byron, come on, Denny.
I just needed Byron to keep the top 5, and I still would have gained points on you. But
didn't happen today, buddy. My wife and sister were sitting in the same room, and they're like, why are you cheering for Denny Hamlin? You hate Denny Hamlin. I said, because I picked him today. They said, who did Ryan pick? And I said, William Byron. They're like, oh. And they said, what happens if you end up beating Ryan in the points at the end of the year? I said, we haven't really figured that out yet. As far as you don't really win anything. It's just which one of us did a better job picking this year. But for the closing laps of the race, our picks were 1-2, and that should show you yet again the garage area knows what they're talking about when it comes to guys that we think are going to run well throughout the day. Where did Larson end up finishing? Do you have that pull up?
Fifth, I believe.
Fifth. I can probably pull it up too. Yeah, you're right. Fifth. Let's do. Hang on. Let's do this. Since we did our picks and the rating of the race, let's just kind of go through the results here and talk about those guys a little bit. Denny Hamlin, somebody that I expected, obviously, to win the race, to run up front. Chris Buescher, somebody that I'm not surprised to see up there. What do you think about Ty Gibbs with third place finish today? Were you surprised by that, I guess?
Maybe as well as he finished. I expected top 10 to 15 lately out of him. The course of fuel strategy and people, Hocevar blew a tire, and
Yeah.
I think the fuel savings and stuff helped him gain positions in the end.
Yeah, you're probably right there. Same thing with Bubba Wallace. I think he was in that same boat. But I'm not surprised to see him up there. Kyle Larson, obviously. Ross Chastain. Zane Smith, a guy that ran 7th. That surprised me a little bit. Kyle Busch qualified well and run in that group of cars all day. So I'm surprised based on how Kyle's been running. But honestly, for the day he had, he did well. You could say the same thing for Carson Hocevar. I was not at all surprised to see him up there, and looked like he was going to win the race at one point. And if he could stretch the fuel out far enough, and he just didn't end up making it. And he blew the tire, which is what ultimately caused him to go down pit road. But I don't know if he would have made it or not. But
I think he was probably the worst out of all of them, and Byron ran out of fuel.
that's true. So yeah, but then again, though, Byron was being raced pretty hard by Denny, so it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell how that would all played out. Yeah, but you're right. If Denny had caught Byron and Byron had raced him that hard, that might have given Hocevar enough cushion to save a little more. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
We'll never know. But really impressive day by Hocevar, even though he didn't get the finish at all there. Ryan Preece, 9th. Not shocked. Brad Keselowski, 10th. All the RFK cars I expect to be fast at Michigan. They are the winningest team at Michigan. This is the first time that a JGR driver has won at Michigan since Matt Kenseth in 2015. They said that little stat on the broadcast. Some other guys that finished well. Eric Jones, Josh Berry, Tyler Reddick, Daniel Suarez, Chase Elliott, right about where you'd expect to see him. Christopher Bell, AJ Allmendinger, Shane Van Gisbergen, Austin Dillon. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. a little worse off than I thought he would be today. Joe Logano finished 22nd. That surprised me a little bit. I'm not sure if they had issues or what. I didn't really follow him that closely because he wasn't running close enough at the front to worry about, but all of my focus was on Denny today. The guy that finished last, though, that was pretty much expected to me. Alex Bowman finished 36th. Do you want to go ahead and sing some more of his praises, or are you ready to agree with me that he doesn't deserve to be in a Hendrick car?
He's in a down spiral, I guess, right now.
Yeah, so ever since he got in the car.
Yeah. He was in the top 5 at points at the beginning of the year. So.
You say that every single year. Yeah. He led the points at one point last year, the year before, for a good stretch of weeks.
Yeah, then he got hurt.
Okay. Bottom line, so his durability is in question. It's just always something for Bowman. And he's always the guy battling on the playoff cut line rather than somebody that's battling for a championship or even race wins. That's I feel like I'm going to come out ahead on this Alex Bowman take. If I just stayed true to my hatred of Alex Bowman, and I don't hate the guy. In fact, I was actually a little concerned as hard as he hit today to make sure that he got out of the car okay. And he did, and gave a fine interview and didn't seem like he was mentally rattled or anything like that. I know that concussions things is like something people have been concerned about in the past, and I didn't see anything there that alarmed me, so I feel like I can make fun of him without a problem. Obviously, I take this all back if he's hurt, but I definitely think I can stick with the take that I don't think that Bowman's a very good race car driver, at least not a good enough driver to be in Hendrick Motorsports equipment when there's guys like Carson Hocevar out there, when there's guys like Ross Chastain out there, and when there's guys like Rajak Ruth and Corey Heim coming up through the ranks.
I could agree with you with all of those drivers, I would say, yeah. But, I don't think he's as terrible as you make him out to be. So
I think
I don't even like the guy that much. I mean, to me, he's the 4th driver there, but I don't hate him as much as you do anyways.
I put him right up there with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Austin Dillon. Like, he's in that tier of drivers to me.
Okay.
That's, I don't know how many down the list that is, but yeah, I'm not going to play the game again. We went through too many drivers last week to go through it. Yeah, there's not even anybody that stands out to me this week that I want to run through those names with. I do think that Eric Jones is underrated. He got 11th place finish today. 11th place finish. And I just think that he's doing a lot with a little right now. And I don't know if he got almost a little bit spoiled coming up through the ranks and hopping in that 20 car or what the case was there. But it just seems like after he lost his ride at Gibbs, he's been very focused and overperformed a little bit in anything that he's been in. And I think that he's somebody that is kind of being held back by his equipment right now, to whereas Alex Bowman's being propped up by his. Okay. Anything else that you wanted to cover from the race itself?
I ain't got nothing.
I think that we pretty much covered everything. John Hunter Nemechek did end up spinning twice in the race. We talked about Denny winning. We talked about the fuel mileage. We talked about Byron running out of fuel, Hocevar's flat tire. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything from the Cup race itself. Buescher ended up winning the first stage. Byron on the second stage and at the fastest lap. Those are the guys that scored the most points. Yeah, that's pretty much it from the Cup race there. One piece of news is that Ram, yes, you got it listed here as Dodge, but
I just realized that.
Ram is back in 2026 for the trucks, and that was a pretty poor kept secret, in my opinion. Everybody knew that they were coming back. Truck looks decent. My question is, how long before, instead of the regular cab trucks that we race, are we going to just start racing the four-door trucks, since that's primarily what everybody sells?
Yeah, I hope never. The trucks aren't even as big as they should be. Need to put them on some lifts or something.
Yeah, that's true. It's an interesting look there.
You know, the truck series, they don't even run their manufacturer's engine. They're all running Chevy engines.
Are they really?
Yeah. Even the Toyotas and Fords are running the LS-based engine.
I knew that there was like an overarching engine manufacturer, but I didn't realize it was made by Chevrolet.
Yeah.
Huh. Boy, I just lost a little more respect for the truck series. And I had lost quite a bit of respect for it this weekend based on that crash fest that they put on Saturday. Stuart Friesen ended up getting the win, but it was just a disaster. I don't even know. I knew that Stuart won because I'd seen the results of the race and only watched the highlights of the race. And on the first couple cautions, I'm thinking, how is Stuart going to win this thing from where he's at? But yeah, he found a way. Yeah. They wiped out a lot of trucks in that event. What a disaster that was.
Yeah, Hocevar probably had the winning truck until a flat tire from contact from Ross Chastain. So
imagine that.
It was kind of fun to watch them two battle there at the end.
It looked good.
The most two aggressive drivers in the sport side by side. And it ended up pretty much how you might think of it. Chastain spun out and Hocevar with a flat tire after it.
Yeah, that's how you would expect those two to race. I'm guessing that this is going to make door bumper clears list this week for things you can vote for. That's the cleanest way I can say it. Let's go through our matchups that I gave you last week, and I'm glad that we had it on video because I would have never remembered what they were. Ty Gibbs versus Noah Gregson. Who got the win there?
Ty Gibbs finished third. So
makes sense. He had a good finish in third place. Brad Keselowski versus Austin Dillon.
Brad Keselowski, who I picked. So,
and what do you know where he finished?
Top 10, I believe.
Yeah, I think he was 10th. Bowman versus Cindric. Cindric won that one, and Bowman wrecked.
Cindric only finished 31st, so I don't know what happened with him. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal was there, too. John Hunter Nemechek versus Ricky Stenhouse.
Ricky, I believe, got the better of him. Nemechek spotted him twice and wrecked out. So.
Yeah. Josh Berry versus AJ Allmendinger. You had Josh Berry.
Yeah.
And he did end up finishing ahead of him. Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott. You picked Chase Elliott because you're a Hendrick homer. And Chastain got the win there. Denny Hamlin versus Ryan Blaney. And Denny obviously won the race, so it's hard to beat the winner.
Yeah.
And Blaney took the L. Kind of a weird wreck for Blaney. I'm not even 100% sure what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, didn't they say he thought he had a tire going down?
I don't
Or
know.
is that someone else? I don't remember.
I can't remember. I'm not sure. And then Larson versus Bell. You picked Larson because, again, Hendrick guy. And he did end up getting the win there, which kind of surprised me. I thought Bell would run a little better today than he did.
Yeah.
But not so.
He ran right with Chase Elliott, so I remember seeing him a lot with them. So
yeah, that's it's not saying a lot there. But yeah, overall, as far as the race at Michigan goes, not a ton to talk about. I don't think nothing dramatically bad happened. It was a good battle at the end. It was exciting, was entertaining to try to see those guys run each other down. I think that if it wasn't for our picks, that I wouldn't have cared. I'd hope that they could have all wrecked against each other. So I think that the us trying to select a driver we think will win every week is actually adding a little excitement to my race weekend. I don't know what it does for anybody else, but
I just wish it wouldn't have come down to having to save fuel at the end for those guys. I would have liked to see how if they raced flat out when their tires would have wore out and stuff, because it would have been the longest run. I know there wasn't much tire wear, but they heated them up, and you could tell which drivers had the better cars in the long run and short run. And a lot of them guys were just running a pace to make it to the end and not full out racing. So
yeah,
I think the ending ruined it a little bit for me. Not only just the way they saved fuel, but Byron having to pit. So
of course it ruined it for you because your pick lost.
yeah. But I mean, I just wish they had been able to go all out till the end instead of saving fuel.
I agree, but it's not like this is Texas or Homestead or something like that. Like this is Michigan. You expect fuel saving race like that here. So I agree that would have been better, but I'm also not disappointed in this either. And yeah, you can say it's because Denny won, but I think it's ultimately, I just thought that it was a legitimately good finish for what I was expecting in Michigan. Michigan's kind of one of those tracks that I used to write off and be like, I'm not super excited about this one on the schedule. But yeah, this week I thought it was good. I thought it was a good race. Even though I only gave it a 6. Going into Mexico City for the first time with the Cup cars, and not really 100% sure what to expect there, but from what I understand, you have some matchups for me.
Yeah.
We're not going to do as many as we did. I was just throwing out a whole bunch of them. We're just going to do 3, so it's easier to keep track of this week.
All right, so first matchup I have is Christopher Bell versus Chase Elliott.
Christopher Bell. Yeah, I'm picking Christopher
Bell. I thought you looked at me like you were asking if that was who I said.
I'm confidently saying Christopher Bell,
Okay.
100%. I'm not even considering Chase Elliott.
SVG versus Allmendinger.
Man. I almost shouted out SVG just because he's been really good at the road courses. Trackhouse has picked it up a little bit lately, at least with Ross. But Allmendinger's run really well this year.
I've also been seeing SVG getting top 20s lately too, so
yeah
he's picked it up also.
That's the problem is, so I can't tell if Allmendinger is just overachieving or achieving what he should achieve every week, if he's getting the finish that he deserves. And he's like SVG, I know he's going to be better on the road courses. Allmendinger, I know he's going to be good at the road courses, but he's not a bad overall race car driver. So it's not like I'm expecting to see a big jump when we go to the road courses. I think that he is in a niche group compared to some, so I expect him to run really well. But I think that Shane Van Gisbergen is underperforming in the Trackhouse equipment. I think that AJ Allmendinger is performing at a higher end of the colleague equipment. So I don't know if the colleague car can run with the Trackhouse car, is my concern. I'm going SVG.
Okay. And I have Denny Hamlin versus Joey Logano.
Denny Hamlin stinks at road courses.
I feel like I haven't seen Joey up there as much lately either, so.
Give me Joey Logano.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a Penske homer.
Oh, yeah. If you'd have said Denny Hamlin versus Tyler Reddick, I'd have picked Tyler Reddick.
Well, obviously Tyler Reddick's one of the better.
If you would have said Denny Hamlin versus Kyle Busch, I'd have picked Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
I mean, Denny is not good at road courses.
Yeah.
Yes, Joey's my favorite driver, and I definitely hope that if they finish 36th and 35th, I certainly hope that Joey finishes 35th instead of 36th. But I expect Joey to run in the top 10. I don't necessarily expect him to compete for the win, but I think he'll be up there somewhere. Better than Hamlin will be. That's at least my guess. But I don't know. Anything else that you want to talk about this week that you think that we should be looking forward to in Mexico City, or anything else you want to talk about from Michigan?
No, I know the haulers are already on their way to Mexico. So.
Yeah, that was weird to see those guys from Detroit.
Yeah.
Loading cars into haulers, and they had different sponsors and windshields, and like it was it Bowman's name on Larson's car?
I don't know. Any clips I saw, they were all white cars. So.
Oh,
maybe
it was. I think it might have been Briscoe's car with Bell's windshield.
Huh.
That I saw at one point that Jeff Gluck had tweeted. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to double check on that, but there was some weird stuff that I was like, what's going on here? And it was just all to do with getting the right car in order to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
It seems like a long haul from Detroit to Mexico rather than going from Charlotte, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm surprised. All those teams. So they hauled all the cars up to Michigan to send them down to Mexico. And I don't know, they all had backup haulers to haul up to Michigan. I'm surprised they didn't just haul straight from North Carolina to Mexico. But
I don't get it. I'm sure that the teardown, which I see is going on live right now, is going to be probably talking about that. Those guys usually get in the weeds on some of those details that guys like us aren't privy to. That did seem a little weird, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
That's all I've got too. Better race than I anticipated in Michigan. Still a lot of dirty air. Glad my pick won. Hope to continue to make up some spots on you next week. That's why I'm picking SVG. I'll pick him right now. I think he's going to be the guy that wins the race. And I guess we'll see what happens after Mexico.